The Consumer Bankers Association is pleased to welcome you to today's webinar, Impact Through Data-Driven Personalization, featuring a panel of speakers from Bank of Hawaii, Huntington National Bank, Synovus, and Personetics. My name is Isabella, and it's my pleasure to facilitate today's event. Thank you for joining. I know we have several audience members joining us from CBA member banks and a few other organizations across the country, and we want to thank you again for taking the time out of your busy day to join us. Please note we are recording and all participant lines are muted. If you have any trouble, please email conferences@consumerbankers.com or send a message in the Q&A box. This presentation will last up to 60 minutes and will include question and answer opportunities at the end. You may submit a question at any time by entering the questions into the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen. As a reminder, the views expressed in this webinar are those of the presenters and do not represent the views of CBA or its members. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speakers, Jody Bhagat, President of Americas and at Personetics, Joe Proudfoot, SVP, Digital Product and Capabilities Director at Huntington National Bank, Lee Sessions, Chief Consumer Product and Client Solutions Officer at Synovus, and David Hall, SVP, Director, Digital Experience, Innovation, and Technology at Bank of Hawaii. And now I will hand it off to Jody. Jody, welcome.
Thank you, Isabella, and to the CBA for hosting this terrific session. By way of background, Personetics serves 18 of the top 40 banks in a category called data-driven personalization, and our mission is help financial institutions better know their customers and deliver value in every customer interaction. You know, it's no surprise that we are in a very dynamic environment where the pace of change is really accelerating. I'd like to share a few salient points from an article that I recently authored in the Financial Brand Forum and share some of the most salient trends that we're seeing. So it starts with the battle for deposits, which rages on. The elevated rate environment is putting more money in motion. There's pressure on NIM and deposit duration and more focus on winning core relationships. And the traditional approaches around rate and incentives aren't really effective in driving enduring customer relationships. Over the last few years, many banks have undertaken large-scale transformation efforts, data transformation, core transformations, digital transformation efforts, and the cost pressures have really changed the focus of those to deliver more in near-term momentum. Some of those efforts are being rescoped to being able to deliver on use cases that can drive some business value while creating momentum moving forward. Over the last decade, there's been a massive push towards digital sales, and frankly, the industry has enjoyed some real gains in this area. But the underlying challenge that's less spoken about is that digital originated accounts have lower profitability, higher attrition, lower account quality, and this will be exacerbated as digital sales continues to be a growing part of the volume of new originations. One of the most exciting spaces is around virtual agents. We are all familiar with B of A's Erica. They handle more than 2 million interactions every day. Not to be outdone, Wells Fargo has launched its Fargo virtual agent, which it promises to be more advanced, proactive, and helping customers better manage their banking. Leading banks are also recognizing that customers have jobs to be done, which takes place over the course of months and even years. And products alone don't satisfy the needs that customers have. It requires really a combination of, first of all, recognizing that job to be done, that implicit need that a customer has, and then through a combination of content, tools, products, and tracking to be able to help customers with delivering on that overall journey while still encouraging them to achieve greater success along that journey. So we don't know how all of these trends will evolve, but we can say for certain that there'll be greater separation between leaders and laggards, and not just from a capability standpoint, but from a financial standpoint as well. So how does one compete in an environment which is so dynamic and that where customer expectations and technology advancements are changing at such a rapid pace? Celent just released a report earlier this summer that talks about the next evolution of retail delivery is highly personalized, valuable experience for customers. And they show this framework, what they call personal financial engagement, which we are an advocate of, which consists of three elements: identifying the need, delivering the value, and then reinforcing that engagement by encouraging the right kind of activity on behalf of customers. In fact, Celent says the future will be all about customer engagement. And they share a 3 horizon chart to show how this will evolve as well. The stage that we've been in for the last several years is one which they call Tell Me. It's more information focused, more backward looking and historical view around spending, around your budgeting, and basic transaction cleansing. The mode that we're in now, which is a very exciting mode to be in, is one where banks have the capability to help customers make better decisions. It can be more prescriptive, more proactive in nature, and be more personalized in terms of the insights, and also beyond just insight, multi-step actions to achieve a goal in the future, which is of course very exciting, which is, if you understand your customers so well, how can you do it for them? Take action on their behalf. So if a customer has an extra 7% of their income to save this month, then put it away for them and inform them that you're helping them save, and you're doing it in a way that's both smart and secure on their behalf. Now, to deliver on this ambition for personalized financial engagement, we believe that the traditional methods are really insufficient for banks to be able to achieve this kind of outcome. Personal financial management tools haven't really lived up to their promise. They've been inadequate in terms of consumer value and bank impact as well. And the burden has really been placed on the customer to take the action and gain value from it. Secondly, around banker lead lists, bankers are great at understanding customers' needs, but when given lead lists, it can perform typically at less than 5% in terms of conversion, and is more about modeled activity than based on true transaction activity. And then we're all familiar with digital banners, both in authenticated site as well as in the pre-authenticated site. Even when they're well modeled, they still convert in the 1% to 1.5% range. So these are all really inadequate. As an industry, we should be trying to think about how to reframe the relationship and anchor it around personalized engagement, anticipating customer needs because you understand their financial transaction behavior, building trust by personalizing the interactions, and suggesting actions that can benefit the customer. This is the next evolution of building a trusted relationship. And by the way, this is not just intuitive, it's also validated empirically. So the capability now exists for banks to anticipate more than 70% of cash flow issues that their customers are facing. And by doing so, they can then deliver solutions that can help ameliorate that condition. For customers that have additional funds to set aside, proactively reaching out and informing them of their options and the available solutions to them. For instance, opening up a savings account and making it very easy to do so in line with the interaction, can deliver a response rate of 2 to 3x a typical promotion of just saying, we have a great savings account for you. So herein lies the power of personal financial engagement. And while the concept has become more of a reality with the significant improvements in data, analytics, and AI, it's really grounded back in the fundamentals of the bank's purpose and promise to customers, which is, my bank is looking out for me. They know me, they value me, and advise me. I'm so pleased that we have 3 terrific executives from different banks, a super regional, a regional, and a community bank, all very progressive, who will each talk about how they are leveraging knowledge of customers to be able to deliver more personalized interactions and really look out for customers to make better decisions. Isabella, back to you.
Thanks so much, Jody. We did have a question come in here, and so I'll direct that to you before we move on. Who typically sponsors a data-driven personalization program within the bank?
You know, Isabella, when when this whole capability started, usually it was within the digital organization and considered more of a feature. Now, as you can see, it's become much more strategic because it's about how you engage your customers and how you demonstrate that you know them. So we're seeing actually pretty broad sponsorship. It could certainly be in the digital organization or in the retail side of the business, small business, um, technology side, and even marketing as well. In fact, the three speakers that you have on all come from different parts of the organization. David from the digital side, Joe from the technology enablement side around digital, and Lee from the consumer products and solutions side. So it's actually quite representative of how we're seeing sponsorship broaden and also expand in terms of the value of personal financial engagement.
Thanks, Jody. And now we will move on to our next presentation. I'd like to welcome David from the Bank of Hawaii. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Isabella. And I appreciate Jody's comments as well. I think you'll see, to his point, a lot of the elements that we talk about. Like this is a situation where, you know, I think that this is something that we're also still developing in terms of like who has that ownership or who should be the one to drive. I think there's an element of when we talk about, particularly when we start talking about customer experience, I like how, Jody, you made the comment that it's quantifiable or it's empirical. In the past, I think that's been more of a soft benefit or a soft skill that we develop in terms of creating customer experiences that delight our customers. But now it's a situation, and then in those situations, everybody had responsibility for it. And I think today what we're seeing, and what I hope that we continue to see, is as this evolves and as we think about setting objectives and really putting that customer experience at the forefront of what we do, inherently we're going to need to measure success, which means we're going to need to be more empirical, and we're going to need to have also then some very, if not already, well-defined strategies around how we accomplish it. So I appreciate that as a certainly as a way of setting up the conversation for us. So what I want to talk about is, so we're pretty early in our implementation of Personetics. But before we even got to the place where we could talk about technology and where we wanted to invest, one of the things that that we've looked at here pretty consistently is when we're considering technology investments, we should first understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish. When we think about, and that begins even earlier. So at Bank of Hawaii, we've developed a customer experience or CX framework that's been in development for, we're approaching about 5 years now. And some of the key components of that framework really focus on how we think about that customer experience with us. So the framework pillars are value me, know me, advise me, and inspire me. And when we consider how we can accomplish that, having that vision, that North Star, is then what becomes really critical as we think about all the options that are out there in terms of technology investment, particularly in the digital space. If we start with that framework, and of course there's more detail behind it, but if we start with that framework and use that as our North Star, it then helps us not be enamored by the shiny new capabilities of a technology, and then we don't get driven by technology capability or the promise of capabilities. We actually now have a sense of the job to be done and the goal that we're aiming for. And now we can make decisions about which technology is going to be best suited to help us accomplish that. And I think that's an important note, at least as I think about where I've seen other financial institutions do this. For Bank of Hawaii, I really appreciate that we've developed as an organization. It's really in the DNA. We have to understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And so for us, it really became, particularly as we looked at updating our mobile and online experience, understanding and being able to particularly answer that question of how well do we know and then advise our customers. And in that scenario, Jody said it, Personetics is a leader in the industry around exactly that capability. So that was really what we were thinking about in terms of the need for personalization and the need to be able to demonstrate to our customers that we know them so that we then can ultimately advise them. And not only does it help us understand who they are and make product and service recommendations, but the other thing that I think is really, and it depends on who you talk to, but whether it's a primary or considered to be a secondary benefit, is it engages the customers. Meaningful insights give the customer something to come back and look for. So where they may not normally be logging in with as much frequency, this gives those consumers who may not have the pattern or the behavior to be logging into their banking system or their online and mobile on a regular basis, aside from checking their balance, this actually gives them something more. So it keeps them in, it keeps them engaged, and the longer they're in front of us, the more opportunity we have to engage with them. When we think about the question has come up because we can go direct to Personetics. We could, one thing that we really appreciated about the fact that there is the Personetics module within FIS. Again, keep in mind, this is a decision that's been in the works, and this strategy, we've, like many financial institutions, we've really attempted to be thoughtful and take our time and make the right decision here. One of the things that actually was really powerful for us, particularly from at the time, our risk management posture, was the fact that Personetics was embedded within our core. It was already there within FIS. So we didn't have to create another independent connection to another third party. We didn't have the need to worry about data transfer and moving back and forth because it was all within FIS. So that partnership that Personetics has with FIS made that decision even stronger, made the case even stronger for us. But at the end of the day, what it really allows us to do, again, is really put the emphasis around through the fact that we can engage with that customer. We have our out of the box insights that we can leverage. The interesting part is, like, there's a fair amount in there. I think we have access to currently more than 50, and I believe our, the next round we're going to see, as we continue to use the engagement builder and expand that work, we're going to see that increase to more than 60. So that's really powerful. But the engagement builder piece in particular, the ability for us to create custom insights, is really meaningful, because there are things then that we can control relative to messaging and the way that we reach out to our customers. That's been a really there's a sort of another component to that we're working through, and that I find to be maybe a bit challenging within the organization. I know our sales teams and our product teams are really anxious to leverage this as a sales channel, and so we're being very thoughtful about how we want to use this the insights and the insights portal, because we don't want it to ever feel to the customer like it's just another place for us to be pushing products and services. Even if they are meaningful and insightful, we don't want it to be the place that we run our campaigns through. And there's some expectation that we've had to reset around the organization around it. But again, it comes with putting that customer experience at the forefront and making that the most important piece of what we do. And that really gets to this experience. Like, we want the insights, both the ones that come out of the box and the ones that we develop, to be focused around, excuse me, how do we help our customers not just know better about the things, but also give them some direction around the right way and the decisions that they should be making. So it really does, and these are not in any way a surprise to anyone. Again, I think that there's some really tried and true components to it. The key really becomes, now then, how do we guide them? We show them this, a lot of this will be like, yeah, I should have a budget. I should spend less on this. I should save more in this area. That's not something that most people really struggle with. The struggle is, okay, well, what do I do about it? How do I do these things? And that's where, in my mind, this gives us the ability, and for a customer, having, if there were no outreach and no recommendations and insights previously, and now they're getting something, that already feels tremendously better to the consumer. And the bank now is finally able to be and do more of what consumers expect from us. I've said this before, where most general consumers don't know a whole lot about finances, but they know that we know a lot about their finances, so they expect us to do a better job of giving them smart recommendations and guidance that help them improve that financial situation. So again, for me, it's really the thing that I love about this is the opportunity for us to actually create that engagement, to educate them, to help not just say, here's a situation, good luck, we hope you make the right decision. It really is, here's a situation, here are some options, and here's what here's what we would recommend for you. And that's the component of this. It also becomes one of my things that I really love is the ability for so for example, you look to the right, what does this look like? How much did you spend on dining or eating out in this month, or what do you look like on average? This is good because it helps, like this is one part of it. The next stage for us as we start thinking about building our own insights is using this, but then potentially getting to the place where we can say, and other customers like you, this is their average spend. I think a lot of us have seen examples of this, particularly in our power bills, in other areas. There's tons of use cases that talk about how motivating that is when someone can see, where am I? Like, I know where I'm at, but am I doing good or bad? I don't really have any idea because I don't have any reference. If we can provide, even in a small degree, a reference to them, that becomes really powerful as they then can make different decisions based on that. So those are just some of the things that we're looking at Bank of Hawaii. We're most of the way through our initial customer launch, but we've started to get some really good information out and seen some good engagement relative to the insights that we've provided. And the last thing that I'll really speak to is, as we think about this, again, using the data, extending the insights in which we can bring, or the data sets that we can bring into it to create the insights. It says hyper-personalized advice, and I think that that's absolutely accurate. That's something we should move to, but don't, for the sake of progress, or, perfection over progress, don't forsake the fact that, as I was saying before, if a customer's never had any insights and we're giving them something, even if that advice is 1 to 100,000, if it's just a data point that actually applies to every customer, like everybody should save more, everybody could afford to spend less in a particular area, that still feels really good to those customers. The key becomes, you can't continue to only provide those bits of advice, and you can't recycle those over and over and over again. That's why the work, I think, for us is, how do we build more, a bigger library of our own insights that matter? And there'll be things that matter to every consumer, but then there'll be some things that are very specific to our market and the unique challenges that we feel like we face in our market. There will be, as with anything, I think this is going to provide us a very actionable, and only within a degree or two of measurable ROI based on the results that we get, all to continue to feed that flywheel of understanding of our customers so we can provide better recommendations. I'll just say, I think that at the end of the day, I know in our market, and frankly, in any market that any of you are in, it's not about, like, there's some elements where it's who has the better rate, who has the better incentive, the better accounts, services, who has the most branches, who doesn't offer fees. Like, that's a part of it. But I think at the end of the day, where the real, like, the next battlefield, if you will, or the next challenge that we have to solve for is, who knows our customers better and is able to actually meet those needs effectively. So this is so critical for us to start filling in those tiny gaps, sometimes big, but tiny gaps of who our customers are, so that we can demonstrate, again, a better understanding of them, and then use our expertise as financial service and, as bankers, to then help improve their lives. So I'll leave it with that. That's, again, something that in our area, we're not just obviously trying to deploy a capability. We also want to see how this improves where we go from here. And that's it. Isabel, thank you.
Thanks so much, David. And before we move on, we did get a question here, so I want to make sure that's over to you. So now that your personalization insights are set up, what do you plan to do next with that data?
So for us, we've built out some personas. That's a great question. Again, it speaks to, like, not just what we're doing here, but how we look to the future. We've built out personas that, what we anticipate is that these insights will help us in one area confirm the assumptions we've made about these personas, and deepen our understanding of what motivates our customers, so that we can refine those and do a better job of, again, just enhancing and sort of expanding. If you think about a picture of anything, like you just have a pencil drawing of a tree, um, uh, from there to, you know, a hyper realistic acrylic and oil painting of a tree that you look at and you think is a photo. For us, it's about increasing the fidelity as we work to understand. So it really is staged and stepped into that. But these insights again are going to be vital for us. The other thing we're looking at is then how do we take those actions and the responses that we're getting from customers. So the output data on the back end for the bank is an area where we're super focused in. And what does it mean and what decisions can we make at an aggregate level when we see what kind of recommendations that that Personetics is making broadly to customers, then how are they responding to those? And does that influence or should it influence product and service development in that roadmap or even in what we offer today? So the goal is really not just about how do I make sure my customers feel like we know them, but then on the in those moments and in those interactions, but then on the back end, what are we doing with that and how does that interplay with our strategy? Again, particularly in our experience, our CX, but also in our product and service offerings. I hope that helps. But yeah, Isabella, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, David. Thank you so much for joining us. So I will now hand it off to Joe. Hold on one moment.
All right. Well, good afternoon or good morning, depending on what part of the country you're in. So, really happy to be able to spend a few minutes with you today talking about Huntington, where we've been on our journey related to data enrichment and just our partnership with Personetics. So, just hearing David, the newer relationship with Personetics, we've actually been a partner with Personetics now for several years. So we started on that journey because we felt the need. We said, hey, we have millions of customers. They are digitally active. We are collecting a lot of information through their interactions with us digitally, through their transactional activity. So we really wanted to start to, create a relationship and a strategy around that data. And there was really a few tenets that we anchor on when we start to think about how do we leverage information to improve the customer experience. First it's show me information that's complete and accurate. Like the foundation of this is data that is accurate, data that I can trust as a customer, so it gives me comfort knowing that my bank is displaying information to me in a way that I understand. Next thing is you think about the amount of information, different transactions that customers are doing on a day-to-day basis. We found that customers are like, hey, make it easy for me. Dig through my data and surface things to me so that I don't have to do it. If we ask the customer to go do the digging, we ask them to go find the insights themselves, they find it very difficult to do so. And so oftentimes they don't do it and they miss on a lot of opportunities. So a lot of what we got from our customer research is, make that easy for me, do it for me so that I don't have to go do it. And then when you surface that information, help me understand it. Like, what can I do? What are some of the things that I can do to improve my financial wellness? What are some insights, recommendations that you could provide to me that will help me make the most of my money, avoid any hazards that might be coming up? And so those are really, a few of the tenets that are out there that we really try to focus on when we think about the customer experience. So, like I mentioned, we're in a partnership with Personetics. We have been for several years. We started, with their Heads Up platform, with the Engage, and just to give you some high level statistics on what we've done, we on a monthly basis, we are using their capabilities to deliver roughly 14 million insights to our customers monthly. We have 96 different use cases that are in today. And one of the nice things about it too is that as we deliver these insights, we're also able to collect customer feedback on them as well. How are they responding to those insights as we present to them? You can see we have a pretty high rating overall, over 4.6 response on these. Some of the high level ones that are most popular that we deliver on is we do a lot of cash flow analysis, which I'll share here in a bit, but helping customers understand how much money is coming in, how much money is coming out, where are they spending their money, And are there any warning signs appearing in terms of where they may have risk to their cash flow? We also, at a transactional level, we give them insights on, hey, here's a new merchant that you've transacted with that you haven't transacted with before. That's actually one of our top scoring ones because customers sometimes they are unaware. Or if there's a high dollar amount with a new merchant, that's another one that's highly impactful. If an unexpected deposit comes in, that starts to surface more information for them that say this one falls outside of your typical credit cadence. And duplicate transactions are another one. So I just want to share a handful of these because there is a wealth of insights that we're able to deliver to our customers through the platform that Personetics provides. So looking at today, just kind of give you a visual representation of these are an example of the heads up that we deliver to our customers today. Really gives them insights into their spending habits, like I had mentioned. So, walking through this, you can see like the money coming in, money coming out, gives the customer the ability to click and look at different time periods so that they can understand month over month, how are things trending, looking, do I have a positive cash flow? Do I have a negative cash flow? As you click deeper into it, you can start to get into, how is my money being spent? Where am I spending my money? I'll talk about, where we're looking to take some of this into the future. And then again, simple heads up here. Hey, keep an eye on your balances. It looks like, based on your cash flow and projections and how your money's being spent, you may be running into a point where you're falling below, that level of comfort for your deposit balance. So we try to surface these messages to give them insights and then recommendations about what they can do in order to better manage their money. So where are we going? Like I said, we've had this partnership with Personetics for some years. Over the last 12 months, myself, my organization, along with all of our segment partners, we've been tasked with how do we think about the future? And we have been investing a considerable amount in our data infrastructure. So how do we organize our data? How do we orchestrate our data? And then how do we make use of that data in a way that can benefit our customers? So, in part of that, we've continued our relationship with Personetics. We're actually moving on to their SaaS solution right now. We're in the middle of that migration. And one does a lot of benefits for us from a technology perspective. It modernizes us, keeps us in a much more nimble state when we think about our relationship with Personetics, always taking on their latest and greatest capabilities. Reduces our own tech debt within our own on-prem area. And it's going to allow us, the new platform capabilities, which I'll touch on, are going to honestly take us to the next level. So when I think through, where are we going with this? We're investing in the enrichment. We have a base enrichment capability today, but when we looked at Personetics, we really felt like this was going to drive us up to the next level. So, first and foremost, at that foundation on the lower left, we want to make sure that, we have transactions that customers recognize. Oftentimes when your basic transactional data comes in, it's a little garbled. There's a lot of meaningless characters, at least to the customer, that they don't understand. It's not branded. So we're really looking to make sure that we can enrich their data so they can understand clearly, who the merchant is, where are they located, giving them information about that so they have a lot more comfort and understanding about what their transactions are. We look at the number of customers that actually call in to file a claim on a transaction that they don't recognize, only to find out when they talk to a claim specialist, oh, wait, I actually did make that transaction. I just didn't recognize what it was because the data wasn't good enough. So it's a much better customer experience. It's also it's a large benefit to our back office operations to be able to have information like that our customer better recognizes. Building off of that data, though, there's other benefits out there. We can start to leverage that data, and we can start to enhance the insights that we're already delivering to our customer. Building off that deeper analytics and where we start to look at this from a capability standpoint is Personetics has a lot of great out-of-the-box insights that we can leverage to deliver value to our customers. One of the things that really got me excited about the next generation, the next partnership with Personetics is we actually have the ability to take it a step further and start to bring in our own Huntington specific data attributes into the Personetics platform, so we can start to deliver Huntington branded, more personalized recommendations and guidance to our customers that are very specific to our Huntington customers and to our Huntington brand. So to me, it takes the power of what Personetics gives us out of the box, but also allows us to build upon that through using additional data elements to derive some of those unique insights that I think would be specific to Huntington. Down that bottom corner, speaking of guidance, tools to support financial wellness, I heard Jody, I heard David talk about this week. There's so many opportunities when we start to leverage our customer data and providing insights and guidance to them. Customers that have stated savings goals, they're giving us a very clear signal through their savings goals of, hey, I have a goal in mind, I have a need, I'm trying to save for something. How do we deliver insight and guidance to them that allows them to better meet those savings goals? So if I'm trying to save for a down payment on a car, stated savings goal, I'm trying to save this much by this date and time. How do we start to deliver insights and guidance to them that allows them to meet that savings goal in the time and in the amount of which they're trying to achieve? It's also another great opportunity to deepen the relationship with the customer using that same use case. If a customer has told us, I'm trying to save for a down payment on a car, as they start to near that goal, what better time to engage them to help them understand what offerings you have in order to help them get a loan for that car. So there's, you think about, how those savings goals can then ladder up to opportunities to deepen the relationship with the customer at a point when it's timely and relevant and value added for them. So that's a lot of how we're trying to orchestrate our data through this Personetics platform to deliver those insights, to help them achieve their goals, and to also, lead to a deeper and broader relationship with Huntington. So, why are these improvements important? I kind of cover those a lot. The modernization, technology moves very quickly. I think about, I think it was 5-ish years ago that we did our first implementation with Personetics. The technology has moved so fast that it was important to, one, do this upgrade to modernize ourselves, because that's going to allow us to move much quicker with our innovations. The technology that we implemented, honestly, is stale now. I'm sure a lot of you understand how fast technology moves and how quickly things can become stale. So by moving to their SaaS solution, that's going to allow us to stay modern and move much faster than our current solution. So from a technology standpoint, it was really important to keep our tech stack modern. From a customer standpoint, we really do see that, based on customer feedback, based on what we're trying to do in order to best serve our customers in the digital channel, being able to leverage our customer information, being able to deliver them insights that are timely and relevant, that help them achieve their financial goals, helps them, leads to greater satisfaction, better relationships, and retention with Huntington, and also those opportunities to further deepen their relationship. So, that's really, our journey that we've been on. We've had a great relationship. We are continuing to invest in this space because we really do understand and value, this relationship and where we're looking to take this for our customers in the future. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Joe. And then we got a few questions in, but I'll ask one now and then we can come back later once we run through all of the presentations to ask more. But the question I have here is, what trends have you seen in the heads-up topics customers value most? How have these trends influenced your data strategy?
Yeah, I covered a little bit about that. I mean, the biggest thing for the customer is, help me make the most of my money. I think I've seen that one time and time again. A lot of customers are money coming in, money coming out. How do I make the most of my money? How do I make it work for me the best? So we've been using that in order to help them surface, spending habits. Here's where you're spending a lot of money. Do you have an opportunity to reduce that to save more? Here's an area where you can, put your money into a savings account where you're not, where you can get interest rates on that. So there's a lot of areas. I think the number one thing that I keep hearing from our customers is, how do you make me make the most of my money? And so we're trying to continually drive more insight. That's why I'm excited about the future of moving on to the new platform. Is I think we're going to be able to deliver a lot more insights to our customers across multiple products in order to help them make the most of their money.
Joe. Thank you again for joining us. So we will move on here to our next presenter. One moment. So I will welcome Lee from Synovus to finish off today's presentations. Welcome, Lee.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lee Sessions, and I'm the Chief Consumer Product and Solutions Officer at Synovus. So for some of you who aren't familiar with Synovus, we're the 8th largest bank in the country and have about $60 billion in assets. Our purpose is to enable our customers to achieve and reach their full potential. So helping clients achieve their goals, seeing them through tough times, and helping them make their dreams a reality. A couple of years ago, we sought to transform our client experience. We want to create deeper digital engagement at scale. So reframing personal engagement with clients was the next step. So why is that important? Well, we know engaged clients have higher relationship balances, have higher satisfaction scores, rate us higher on advice, and essentially we believe it's the gateway to primacy. So reframing engagement requires personalization. So you think about logging into the mobile app. I want to be alerted on how to manage my finances better. But also, if I'm going into the branch and talking to a banker or on the phone to an advisor, I expect them to be equipped with the same level of guidance. And also, an email that I might receive, I want that to be consistent and on point and on target as well. So personalization of customer experiences really requires a clear strategy. It's no longer sufficient anymore, like you see on this page, to operate in different silos. It really requires coordination and journey optimization across all these different areas. Essentially, a persistent advisory experience. And advice can come in so many different forms. It could be an email, it can be a chat, it could be a text, or it could be a conversation with a human advisor for some of the more sensitive, more complex, conversations. So it's about providing them the right piece of advice at the right time in the right channel and giving them guidance across all areas of their financial lives through those key financial moments. So when we began this journey, we had 3 really major requirements. One is we want it to be relational versus transactional. So what do I mean by that? So historically speaking, you'd log into the mobile app and you could transfer money, you could pay a bill, you could see your balances. But we wanted to change that and really create it more like an advisory experience, as if you're in branch or on the phone talking to an advisor, really create more of a two-way conversation there and give them advice and guidance. 2, we wanted it to be emotional as well. So striking the right tone. So some customers we know like a witty tone, others might like more of a serious tone. Some customers might want like a graphic image, others might like a lifestyle image. And then thirdly, we want it to be really personal as well. So data-driven financial insights that are really unique to each customer situation, highly personalized to them and their unique financial goals and lives. So we began in the digital space with, a new form of bite-sized advice we called insights, and really kind of was the key next step in transforming our digital experience, like I said earlier, from transactional to relational. And the results have been really, really powerful. We created 60 plus custom insights. We have a 20% engagement rate, a 4.3 out of 5-star average rating. And finally, engaged customers saw a 10-point increase in customer satisfaction for financial guidance. And we see larger balances per customer, relationship balances for these engaged customers. So the keys to success for us really has been focused on delivering this personalized approach by leveraging data, reframing engagement, how we think about engagement, and delivering that persistent advisory experience. So we're really excited about the progress and the partnership we've had with Personetics and others, and looking forward to bringing new and different capabilities here to bear in the market in the not too distant future. So I'll turn it back over to you, Isabella.
Thanks, Lee. Let me just make sure that's all good. Thanks so much, Lee. So we do have a question here for you, and I will ask this, and then we can get into more questions for everyone else with whatever time we have left. So I have my question here. Why is making digital banking important to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say that, first of all, by very nature, we're all emotional, right? So it goes back to my earlier comments around personalization that, personalization makes customers feel valued and understood, right? So, and then that leads to a more engaging and satisfying experience when you're creating the connection with them and that personalization. So that personalization, drives loyalty and customer satisfaction and then deeper, fuller relationships. So we think it's critical because we want to make sure we're talking to our customers the way that they expect us to know them and talk to them, right? So that emotional aspect to drive that connectivity, we feel like is really critical.
Thanks, Lee. And then we did get another question just now for you, Lee, so maybe we'll just continue here, and then I can move on to give some others some questions. So traditionally, Synovus has grown through acquisitions and mergers. How are you addressing customer coming on board from different experiences to the new personalized experience?
Well, it's a great question. I would say that, we look at all those situations in a similar way. We're trying to provide that, personal connectivity, to our customer, whether it's an existing customer or a new customer. We spend a lot of time thinking through like what that customer journey should look like and creating those personal connection points with them, right? And that begins with a data-driven approach and understanding, kind of their unique needs and their goals and meeting them all along the way of that journey. And a big piece of that, I would say, is that what we call is where high tech meets high touch and providing that kind of 360 coordination and orchestration across channels, whether it's the digital channel, as I mentioned earlier, that historically speaking was very transactional, or the banker channel, in branch where we kind of historically created advice and engagement, or maybe the marketing channel, which is historically more promotional. We feel like kind of that high tech meets high touch connectivity across all those channels and creating that personalization is really critical to creating the kind of engagement we need for new customers and existing customers on a go forward basis, which is what they're really looking for, to have that partner to help them, sit on their side of the table and help them along their unique journey they have.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you again, Lee, for joining us. So I have a few other questions here. I do have one for Joe that came in. It says, "Hi, Joe, great story at HMB." So thank you, Karen. Did you have to face data silos challenges, and how did you address it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And yeah, I mean, obviously, when you think about banks, especially legacy banks that have been around for a while, their data does tend to exist in silos. So a lot of the way that we're tackling that from an investment standpoint is we are really working on centralizing our data through a more of a modern event hub. So you think about all the systems of record that store their own data. We've been making a concerted effort to bring all that data into a centralized data hub, creating topics that any endpoint, any channel can subscribe to. That way we're sending data in real time. We're able to consume that data off those topics in real time and then turn those around very quickly and generate those insights and recommendations for our customers. So there's a considerable amount of back end technology investment that you need to do in order to realize that. So we've been on that mission for a few years now. We've made great headroads in it. There's still a ways to go. In fact, I think it's one of those things that we say you're never done doing, but making those investments to centralize, orchestrate, and modernize your data is
Thanks, Joe. So I can, let me double check here. So I see another question. David, if you want to take this question, I believe it came up during your presentation, but what made you decide on FIS and Personetics versus competitors to begin implementing personalization?
Well, I think that there were a couple of things at play. One was we were already an FIS shop, so the D1 upgrade for us was it felt like a natural approach, and the capabilities from D1 for us, that was obviously there were some good customer experience enhancements that came, but there was actually a tremendous amount of improvement that came in the back office. So for the bank itself, relative to our mobile and online experience, one of the things, one being the fact that there's some powerful insights just in comparison to the other options, which we did. We didn't just naturally say, well, Personetics is already embedded in FIS, so let's just go with that. That was certainly a part of the consideration. And it was part of the consideration because, again, we wouldn't, our risk posture has been super conservative in the past, and the idea of moving data off of, into the cloud, into another vendor, was a concern for our risk team at the time. And again, this is the decision that started a couple of years ago already. But so that was definitely a benefit. But at the end of the day, it really was the fact that it is already integrated into our core, into our mobile and online experience. That was the most that would certainly made it give it a definite advantage. But beyond that, again, knowing that we're not just looking for the easiest technology implementation. Beyond that, it was the fact that in comparison, Personetics just was able to provide, and I think that specifically in the insights piece, greater data, greater results, and I think that just some of the things that Joe and Lee have talked about demonstrate that that's proven out to be right. So I already feel like we've made the right decision just based on that, and hearing these two gentlemen talk about it.
Thanks, David. I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. I had one for Jody here. What have you learned from working with different banks?
Thanks, Isabella. You know what's fascinating about this conversation is you have a $200 billion super regional Huntington, a progressive $60 billion regional bank, Synovus, and then a very strong $23 billion community bank, Bank of Hawaii. And what I hope that people will take away is that we have significant now advancements in data analytics capabilities as a platform. But what you've heard from each of these three gentlemen is how they've been able to take this capability and mold it in a way that is supporting their brand proposition and the kind of experience they're trying to create and the capabilities they're trying to enable. And so what I would share with the audience is that consider this platform around data-driven personalization not as a feature, but as an accelerant around a desired outcome, a desired experience, or a strategy, or brand promise that you're trying to make, or that you're trying to deepen relationships with your customer franchise in a particular area. And I think that Lee and Joe and David have done such a good job talking distinctly about how each institution is leveraging this capability to further the experience, whether it's from an enabling capability standpoint or from an overall how you frame the customer engagement, or even having this be an enabler around a multi-channel journey. And I think that's what I hope the audience will take away, and what is also so exciting for banks to mold this kind of capability in a way that's uniquely representative of their institution and their customer franchise.
Thanks, Jody. I did get another question in here for you. Does culture influence personalization aspect for a customer?
So Lee, why don't you speak to this in terms of maybe the tone that you're trying to set with your customers? Because I know the institution's done a lot of work around understanding how you want to speak to customers, what works, and even distinguishing between different customer types as well.
Yeah. Isabella, do you mind just repeating the question again?
Sure, yeah. So the question is, does culture influence personalization aspect for a customer?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I mean, as kind of Jody was alluding to, and our culture is so important to us, and just to really deeply caring for our customers and their unique situations, and you know, it's that culture of a heart we've talked about for so long in our company, and it's just a very rich relationship, you know, oriented approach, right? So we really try to dive in deep to create that personalization and understand, you know, bring emotion into the things that we're doing. So some of the insights and stuff that we created, we spent a lot of time studying, you know, kind of the different ways each customers like to be engaged with, right? And then have adjusted, you know, the tone and the messaging and the imagery around a lot of that work to be real thoughtful around that, because we realize that some customers, every customer reacts into a little bit of different way, right? And that makes them feel like that they're deeply understood and drives up the level of engagement. So we really, you know, put a lot of time and effort to be real thoughtful around that, bring in our cultural views as far as, you know, caring for our customers and helping them achieve their goals and objectives into the framework and thoughts around how we create the personalization in all the different interactions, whether it's an insight or it's a conversation the banker has or a marketing message. So something that we think about on a daily basis.
Thanks so much, Lee. We are just about to be at the top of the hour, so I think we might close it out here. But I want to thank you all again for joining us. I want to thank Personetics for hosting today. Thank you to Synovus, Bank of Hawaii, and Huntington for joining us. Did you guys have any other last comments you wanted to close out with today?
No, I'll also just offer my thanks to these very progressive institutions, and Isabella, thanks also to the CBA for hosting the session, and I hope it was productive and insightful for your audience.
You know, we appreciate having you all on, and of course, we love having our members on as well, partnering with our associate members. So again, thank you so much. With that, we will conclude today's program. Session has been recorded and will be available next week on the CBA's website. Again, thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect. Have a great weekend and a great rest of your Friday.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.